have any follow-up questions, you're welcome to pop me an email. Thank you very much. I see somebody started the recording. Apologies. Yeah. We will also share the recording with everybody afterwards. And can I also just again ask that everybody please check that your microphones are muted? I seem to be hearing somebody in the background. Okay, so I'm going to start with, I think, the key resource for everybody to consider, which is our AI library guide. Here it is the direct link to it. We will also be sharing these slides with you afterwards. And yeah, it's a detailed guide on the ethical and appropriate use of AI as determined by 3 core documents: the interim SU guidelines on allowable AI use and academic integrity, the SU position statement, ethical use of AI in research and teaching, learning assessment, and the declaration of AI use in postgraduate research. And very, very important, always verify with your department or faculty on their specific position regarding the use of AI in postgraduate research. They are the key people to provide you with guidance as to how it can be applied in your specific faculty or domain. Okay, so let me quickly show you the library guide. So yeah, here is the library guide. Here's basically all the AI policies and resources available to you. AI detection tools that are currently in place where possible. Disclosure of the use of AI tools for undergraduate, postgraduates, different tools that you can explore. So if we look at AI tools for research, excuse me, for instance, here's a couple here. At the end of this session, if there is time, I will demonstrate one tool that I find very, very useful. I'll explain also that actually that tool designed the slides for this session for me. Yeah, so a lot of other information, useful information here. So let me quickly go to the home link again. Actually, I'm going to share this link in the chat. And okay, on to the presentation. But for those of you who missed yesterday's webinar or a guest lecture by Prof. Francesco Petrocchioni, who is a professor of quantum computing and Pro-Vice Chancellor, Artificial Intelligence and Quantum Technologies, there were 3 quotes from his presentation yesterday that I found highly valuable and worthwhile food for thought. The first one, a literature synthesis without verifiable grounding is a performance of scholarship, not scholarship itself. He also touched on the fact that there will inevitably be a new redistribution of labor between human and machine, and that balance is required as a result. And then lastly, and this one I found very important, and this is something I do want to emphasize for today as well, AI is a sparring partner. It's not an oracle. Okay. In terms of the foundation of academic integrity, there are 3 core principles that need to be taken into account: accountability, authenticity, and transparency. And as you can see here at the bottom, Notebook LM is the platform I use to create these slides. And before we continue, I do want to ask you as well to keep an eye out for the errors that occur in this slide deck. Hallucinations do not just occur, basically, it doesn't just give you imaginary citations. It can create weird text, it can create weird jumbled images, all kinds of things. And that is why close scrutiny of any AI interaction is always very, very important. But in this case, I left these errors in place as a demonstration of what you need to be cognizant of. So in terms of accountability, Number one, you are the author. AI tools cannot hold accountability, possess unique ideas, or be listed as authors. The researcher assumes full responsibility for the accuracy, validity, and impact of the submitted work. In terms of authenticity, uh, you must augment, or you can use it to augment your own research, but it cannot be outsourced. AI may be used to assist where relevant and permitted, but never to complete an assignment on a student's behalf. Original contributions must be clearly distinguishable. And then transparency, and I think this is the most important part, is that you must declare your navigation. You must keep a track record of how you use AI in your research honestly and proactively, including the specific tools used and the extent of their application. It's really a very good idea that if you are going to be using prompts to do a literature search, for instance, keep a record of that prompt and include that as an addendum to your research even. So yeah, this quote here at the bottom, knowing and learning is inevitably accompanied by responsibility and accountability. So here also, and this I think is the key thing to another key point to consider is the hazard of what is now being called AI idiocy. So it occurs when over-reliance on technology eclipses human critical judgment. It is triggered by the convenience of not bad AI outputs, combined with a lack of foundational expertise. So there's the risk for students and researchers, the risk of learning loss and skills erosion. Uh, yeah, skipping the iterative learning process that diminishes foundational human skills, specifically critical thinking and creativity. If we depend on AI to do the critical thinking for us, that skill will eventually become eroded. Higher education institutions will have to ultimately redesign assessments, um, but because graduating what's called AI idiots can erode public trust, risking social licensing and the perceived value of academic qualifications. And this is already a real effect. Employers and society at large, a lot of people are already complaining about the fact that they are employing people with relevant qualifications who do not have the skill sets that qualification is supposed to be promising. And this results in compromised productivity and credibility. So unverified AI output leads to unsatisfactory work and forces industries to bear the extra training costs for foundational skills not developed during education. So a quick question then. I'm going to give you a minute or two to pose your answers in the chat. But if a machine can do all the thinking for you, what makes you the researcher? And this is to an extent to test that critical thinking that is so important. This is a couple coming through the interpretation and analysis of the information, um, analyzing the machine output, asking the right questions, and very jokingly got to give us time to type the question in ChatGPT. That's the grand irony that we're dealing with here, because almost all of these answers also, to some extent, AI can already assist us in answering. Let's see, aiming for knowledge production with understanding and critique rather than reproducing existing information, to critically dissect and appraise what AI came up with. I still prefer to start the process off though. And criticality. And yes, in that regard, I think the critical thinking, critical reasoning is going to be what set us apart uh, from the AI process and the results that you will get. And this makes it hard for both those who do the examination and those who conduct the research, because over-reliance on AI is going to become an issue going forward. I see a last one here that I think might be worth also mentioning. I have found that AI doesn't always know which dots to connect when. The more a tool learns about me, the more it starts indiscriminately connecting dots, even when I don't ask it to. Yes, that is absolutely true. Therefore, I think it is critical for me to stay involved in the thinking and be shaped by the process, because that's developed the expertise I need to keep bringing. Yes, that's a very, very good point of view. Okay. So, as with my other literature review webinar, I want to cover in this session basically the different stages of the literature review and indicate kind of how AI can be utilized here. These were the human in the loop is basically represented by the hand. Critical junctions where human verification, domain expertise, and ethical judgment are irreplaceable. So identifying the question, critically analyzing the information, the synthesis of the information, and writing the review. So the three that where AI could almost automate, but with very, very, very strict oversight still, and that's the irony, is that reviewing the discipline styles, searching the literature, and managing the literature, it can help with the organization. But as we all know, that AI tends to generate false citations, false references. So human verification is almost necessary in all the different stages. So here I would also say, I think already the AI generated slide is a bit faulty. That this human hand must actually be involved in each of these processes. It can be, the hand can be a little bit smaller here, but there should still be human intervention in all of these different stages. So identifying your question. A great way to get started would be to engage with AI, as said earlier, as a sparring partner, not as an oracle. But creating an accurate prompt saying, okay, I'm conducting a literature review on the impact of regenerative agriculture. Help with identify key concepts, suggest search strategies, summarize the main findings, and reflect on the potential biases or limitations in the available literature. So this uses the CLEAR framework for prompting and for finding information. So be concise, directly state the core topic without fluff, be logical, present the query in a natural structured order, be adaptive, use follow-up prompts to refine based on the AI's initial keywords. And here you'll see also, again, there's a repetition of the same information twice. Just to fill the space, essentially. Explicit, clearly define the exact output parameters and limitations. So clear standing then for concise, logical, explicit, adaptive, and reflective. And just a warning here that AI tools do look for relationships between words. So your prompt must accurately represent the academic relationship you are investigating. In terms of the discipline styles, and this is what we always say in the my full literature review webinar, is that this is a bit of homework you need to do on your own site, that you need to go to Sun Scholar, our institutional repository, and have a look at how literature reviews are conducted in your specific faculty, your specific department. If you can find actually literature reviews done under your supervisor, that would also be good guidance. AI can assist in analyzing and the core aspects, core elements, and give you almost a blueprint of how to structure your literature review. but you'll still have to go and see. You don't just assume, again, that it's a factual or accurate representation. But yeah, so focus on thesis and dissertations from your specific faculty or department. Observe the paradigm. Does your discipline favor systematic reviews, scoping reviews, or just a state-of-the-art synthesis, or a standard literature review? And also look at how others make use of the golden thread. And this is the golden thread is a key principle of a good literature review and a good thesis. It's basically the line of argument, the line of debate, the flow that needs to go through your entire thesis, and basically also through your entire literature review. And here, I cannot dictate your faculty's specific academic culture, so this requires manual reading and some human immersion into the discipline's discourse. Now, searching the literature, so here's one tool I'm also going to briefly demonstrate for those of you who are not familiar with it. But the SU library, we've got a research assistant that's we have through our Primo search platform. That's our internal Google, essentially. It searches the SU library in expanded academic e-resources. It retrieves and summarizes the top 5 ranked peer-reviewed articles or other sources, and the risk level is very low compared to others. You won't get hallucinated results in this platform. Elicits and Research Rabbit are 2 alternatives. We do not have subscriptions to them, so these will be either you can use the free option, or if you do want to invest, you can look at the different payment options. Okay, so just a brief demonstration of the research assistant. Okay, so on the library's homepage, it's a bit hidden away, unfortunately, so it's a good idea to start just with a search. So I'm just going to use this one. And once you've conducted a preliminary search like this, and I think this one's a bit too big, but here at the top, you'll see the research assistant appearing. And you need to log in. I think my credentials should still be fine. And let's see if there's okay, so I'm just going to do what we're talking about, artificial intelligence. And literature reviews. And here you can say whether it's available online. You can look for specific sources. So let's say peer-reviewed articles and the last 12 months. Okay, and let's say search. And let me see if there's a direct link I can share. I'm not too sure if this link is going to work. This is what makes it a bit difficult, and why I recommend just using the channel I suggest, or the direction I suggested. Otherwise, maybe copying it, sharing it like that. Okay, that's the same link. Okay. But here, what you'll get then is you'll get an overview of the sources. It will cite the necessary, the relevant ones as indicated, and here you'll get direct links. So just to mention that these results aren't necessarily all available at the library. So Primo uses its global database of the available sources that it has. So it may sometimes include material that we don't have access to. But remember, there is interlibrary loans through which you can always request access if we don't have that access. So here you'll see, for instance, more details and request options. Click on that. And here you'll see it has the information, but there's no direct link. So this would be a case where you will then submit an interlibrary loan to access it. Okay, back to the presentation. And this little bit here, and while it is handy to have AI do the searching for you, remember that you have experts on hand who can assist you in developing proper search strategies for you to develop or find the information that absolutely speaks to your specific topic. The faculty librarians are still the number one go-to. I cannot emphasize this enough. Do not just depend on AI to do the searching for you. Do not just do Google search. Engage with your faculty librarian and find help. They will help you develop a search strategy, identify the keywords, alternative keywords, to find sources that really speaks to you. And then managing the literature behind a secure perimeter. And here, incredibly, incredibly important. The AI is useful for if you want to summarize an article, you can upload it. It can summarize it for you. It can highlight the key points for you, but never ever upload personal information, sensitive information, research data onto an unverified, unsecured third-party AI. It's essentially a zero trust zone. There's no confidential personal information should ever be fed to a third-party AI. So there are, so please always just keep that in mind. We are, from what I understand, the university is investigating potential AI tools that will give us a little bit more leeway in these because the privacy will be contractually determined. But for now, we don't have that in place. So please keep this in mind. But tools like Notebook LM, and that's the one I want to demonstrate, it's actually, it uses Gemini, Google's language model. It is a Google product as well, but it doesn't upload what you upload onto its large language models for learning. It basically keeps it private in your specific domain. So and that makes it very useful and a bit more secure than other options. Scholar-C is another one worth considering. And just to demonstrate something quickly as well, and this is again as a part of the AI hallucination, is that I had to take a screenshot here, and it created this little logo for Scholar-C that doesn't exist anywhere. It looks a lot like actually the old SU branding to an extent. So again, there's this hallucination that takes place, and that has to be always be factored in and accurately observed. Okay, I see a question there. Does SU have a wall protecting our SU IP from use of this Primo search assistant? Yeah. So Primo's search assistant doesn't actually have access to any intellectual property of the university. It uses our catalog, so our journals published on academic databases that are discoverable via Primo. So it won't. I think it can access Sun Scholar. If I speak under correction here. Which is a public repository. So in that sense, that there's no private information on Sun Scholar that would be accessed by Primo. And I think I'll leave that other question on how you would cite the use of AI as you've just demonstrated. This is one I wouldn't necessarily cite unless you want to use that text that was generated there as is, which again is not a good idea. You always need to reframe it into your own words. So if that's text, if we go back to that one, Let's just go back to the results. If you wanted to use some of this text here, I would always recommend going back to the original source. You can, but if you want to cite specifically here, it seems this whole paragraph is based on this source specifically. So you will cite the original source, not the research assistant. I will have to investigate on that one and have a chat with our IT department who manages the research assistant. But all I can think, I mean, the only input that it can use to for its own language training would be the research history. So these topics that are typed in here to search. Anything else doesn't get, that's the only input that research assistant receives from the university side. And again, as mentioned, the results is based on its own global database of academic sources that it has access to. So there's no place for you to upload, for instance, if I'm correct, there's no place for you to upload any specific information here. You can literally only interact with it by text interchange. Okay. So another one, but yeah, and this I think again speaks to what we have been talking about. But what are the unseen ethical costs of feeding your participants sensitive raw data into a corporate server? If I can have some responses there. And have a look at that error there, that visual error that was created again. Again, just indicating how these little faults, these little issues, these little errors can seep through. And this is something that I think supervisors and examiners will eventually become very keen-eyed on noticing these little discrepancies, because that is how they will be able to, I think, assess whether there has been some AI input that's declared as your own original voice. Right, I do not seem to be getting any responses to the question, but ultimately, I think what you can consider is the reputational damage to you as a researcher, to the university. Yeah, it's participants. That's what that word is actually there. But when you sign a consent or provide informed consent to participants, you vouchsafe to protect their data. And if you decide, okay, you don't have time to transcribe, so you're just going to use a third-party transcription tool to transcribe those interviews, then that company is going to have access to that original voice recording. They're going to have, there might be identifiable information in that data, and they will use it to build and develop their own services, unless there's an explicit contract or agreement in place that says that they will not be using this. And that is why transcription services at this stage is still very, very risky. And yeah, you lose control over the data, where it goes and for what it is used, as just mentioned in the chat. So we'll get participants will become less willing, but there will be legal consequences for the institution, for you as a researcher, because of the POPIA Act and any other acts that might have consequences. So this is not just necessarily about personal information, but sensitive ecological information. The NEMA protections of biodiversity that needs to be considered as well. So this is the one part where, and we're not talking about necessarily data at this stage and how to handle data, but this is why we still hammer on this, because it's a really, really, really important aspect. So the critical analysis, and here the hallucination factor. Here, for instance, on this page on hallucination, Gemini created a word I've never heard of. I think it wanted to say fact or truth. AI, so never cite an AI tool as a source of fact or truth. Verify every claim against original peer-reviewed literature. Use the SU library databases to confirm that a paper actually exists. Don't just assume, you have to verify. Again, data protection, and we will hammer on this over and over, but never feed confidential research data, participant information, or unpublished SU intellectual property into public AI systems. So in that regard, I can say that the research assistant is not a public AI system. It's one that we do have some contractual protections with, as it is a product that we are subscribed to. But the risk of hallucination, of fabricating entirely fake references, authors, and data points can be very, very risky, and it's already causing a lot of reputational damage to researchers. So it's great to help you find sources, but you need to go and check those sources. And that's ultimately what a literature review still entails, is there's some grunt work involved. You do have to put in some effort into actually going through this material. So then if we go to step 6, where the synthesis occurs. So AI can help aggregate, cluster papers, and extract themes for you. AI can process information, but it cannot create meaning. Synthesis requires interpreting how the literature impacts your specific research question, including addressing literature that contradicts your hypothesis. So the human will synthesize and the human will evaluate, but the AI can assist in translation. Language enhancement tools, refine sentence structure, give you a decent summary. And with the writing of the review, so there's also a distinction to be made on how AI should be declared. So Grammarly is technically an AI tool, but if you use it to assist you in just properly structuring your thoughts, that's not necessarily a requirement for declaration. But if you are going to use an AI tool to synthesize a couple of articles' thoughts into one coherent paragraph, or a summary of, then it is worth, then you do still need to record and declare that action. So again, just as an overview of, and it can help you in structuring your writing. So generally, if you look at the funnel approach, the introductory section will establish subject importance, history, and the core thesis statements. The body will be organized according to the major themes, the trends, the gaps in the research, highlighting where researchers agree or disagree. And the conclusion summarizes the evidence, highlights the literature gaps, and points directly to your own research project. And also, again, the authorship policy. You cannot cite AI. so they cannot be listed as authors. You always need to go back to the original source and cite that original author. So any attribution of authorship carries with it accountability for the work, and AI tools cannot take such responsibility. And yeah, here's a question that I do want some feedback on. I'll address the questions as I'm waiting for some responses. But when the paper is finally published, or your thesis or your dissertation is published, how will you transparently prove your own intellectual contribution to your peers? Um, so, Ms. Knitzer, that question regarding the intellectual property of the journals, that is a good one. And that is where we do strongly advise using a platform like a notebook LM that they do not upload that. This is a public declaration from Google's side and has been verified that what you upload is only processed internally in the platform itself. It doesn't get uploaded on Google's cloud, or they do not use it further in their large language models. So Copilot, if you have the enterprise version, so that it's almost like the Copilot Pro, then yes, it will. Everything uploaded there remains within your specific instance of Copilot and doesn't get used by Microsoft. But the standard Copilot that you get with a Microsoft 365 subscription, and I think the one that most of us actually has access to now, that one does, unfortunately, they still do reserve some rights to actually upload that information. So it's very important to make sure what version of Copilot you have access to. Initially, we all, I think, did have access to the Copilot Pro version that had this security in place. But Microsoft removed this as they seem to be wanting to capitalize on it a bit more. You will have to reach out to IT to find out how to get the upgraded version. They will have to process it on their side, campus IT. In terms of Claude, we have no affiliation with Claude. I would not upload articles onto it unless you can find proof on it. As I said, I'm not a full expert, so I don't know enough about Claude to give you an accurate answer. Okay, so through building trust as a reputable ethical researcher, accurate record keeping of the research and writing process, clearly showing your work versus the input from AI. Yeah, that's, I think, is a good one. Again, that's where the transparency comes in. If you're honest about how you used AI, there will be greater trust in your contribution. Making your data available for scrutiny. Yes. What if you choose? Okay, so here, but what if you delete the history of prompts? That removes sensitive information from their cloud. Again, I am not 100% sure on that one. I cannot answer. I think the different platforms work differently there. You can request that all your data do get deleted. I know that is the case with Gemini. And then they will. But whether they have already then processed that and incorporated that data into their large language model is another question entirely. I saw another one here. What if you choose not to use AI? Are you a dinosaur? Does it devalue your scholarship? No, I don't think in the slightest. It's ultimately up to you. If you don't want to use AI, that's entirely your choice. And then you can put in a declaration stating that you did not use AI at all in your. Unfortunately, you will probably still have to declare that you did not make use of AI tools. As unfortunately, I think the trust level at this stage is that researchers assume, or supervisors would assume, or examiners would assume that some AI has been used. On LitMat versus Research Rabbit, that one I think I will have to come to towards the end. I did note it, but it's again, I think I don't have any thoughts on them at this stage, unfortunately, as I don't know all the platforms well enough. What I would say is I think you need to test these out and see which ones work best for you in terms of what you would like for discoverability. I have heard a lot of positive feedback on Research Rabbit, and it could be worth exploring. And I think our library guide also provides a bit more concise information about the different tools that's available and the pros and the cons of each. I'll show that, I think, closer to the end, but which I'm basically nearing the end of the presentation. But yeah, AI is just one flavor of a larger pattern of technological dependency. It is an excellent tool to empower innovation, but work done with AI assistance will only ever be good as the human behind it. And I think that's very, very important. You must own your arguments, verify your sources, and declare your tools. And yes, yeah, so that's that one. So now we can go to some of the questions that's coming in. Let's go back here. So yeah, I think here AI tools for research will have a very great overview of the different tools available. I'm not familiar with, I wasn't involved with the creation of the library guide, so I haven't tested all of these out yet. But this was more just an overview of, I think, the specific guidelines for literature reviews. And Gemini, as I mentioned, is a great one for collating your literature. So Notebook LM, rather, that's based on the Gemini infrastructure. So how it works is you'll create a notebook, and then you'll start uploading sources. So if I was going to take that AI link here, for instance, and what I can confirm is again that at least with Notebook, it doesn't upload or go to the or it doesn't upload it to Google's private servers. So the more sources you can upload, and depending on your subscription type or what you have, you can upload quite a lot of sources. I think up to 80 different sources. And then you can engage with the research. So for instance, in the previous one where I used Notebook to help create this slide deck, upload all the information that I had, my other literature review webinar, and so on, and help build a slide deck on it. But it can help you create a mind map, for instance, even a video overview. There's a lot of useful features here that is quite handy. Yeah, so this is one example you can that you can consider that I think is a more secure, less risk heavy, or less risk heavy than other platforms at this stage. Okay, so now let's have a look at if there's any questions that I've missed. So the fact that, the risks associated, that's actually a good point, and I will raise it with colleagues who's responsible for the library guide, that it is that we should consider adding the risks as well. But the risks for all AI remains the fundamental part is that you need to be careful about intellectual property, about sensitive personal information. And in that regard, there's some homework involved as well. To go and find out what does this AI allow? What do they do with the data that gets uploaded? they are usually very transparent about how they provide um, uh, oh, uh, excuse me. But yeah, they will always have some transparent information about how they use the information that gets uploaded to their servers. And there it would be a good idea to just go and have a look at what they say about that specific tool. So that's it's not a AI policy. That's more my advice, because I might be saying you can this is accepted and this is how the university policies, those documentations I shared at the start of the session, those are the guidelines that are in place. But a specific faculty might have specific concerns or issues. And therefore I can't therefore it was more a declaration on my side that I cannot speak on behalf of each faculty and each department. So it's not a policy, it's more a recommendation from my side. Following on from this topic and previous questions, and seeing that we are not AI, when students are transparent in what AI tools they have used and how they use it, how are we to distinguish what is allowable good use and what was unethical? That's a good question and a difficult one, I think, at this stage. It's because it is, again, such a new area for all of us. You can consult. I think there will eventually be experts and internal divisions that can provide guidance on this as well. But it is a tricky one. In terms of the Premier Research Assistant, you log in with your SU username and the password, same password that you would use to log into Microsoft Outlook. Let's see, to answer the question, slide with the fingerprint image, your own human input evidence should be corroborated in the form of transparent track records, ability to orally defend your own knowledge, reading, understanding, critical thinking. You are the researcher, take responsibility for your writing. Yes, and I think that's a core thing. Just keep a record of how you used it, be transparent, and be able to have a discussion. I think that is where a lot of people will get caught out eventually, is if they have to orally defend their research. And if you don't know if you just engaged, it can be can get quite complicated. Let's see if there's any other questions. So yeah, the questions came in fast and heavy. I think let's just see if there's some more. That seems more like a discussion. Okay, are there any other questions? Anything else? You're welcome to unmute yourselves as well if you would like to ask a question over a microphone. We will share the link with the recording to everybody afterwards. We'll just need to do some processing first, and then we will share it during the course of the next 2 weeks. And along with that, we will share the slides as well. All right, then I think I'm going to conclude this session here. Yes, over to you, Alvina.
Thank you so much, Kirchner, for sharing your knowledge and ideas about prompts and how to use AI ethically in our literature reviews. As we saw now from Kirchner's discussion, AI is new and a lot of uncertainty exists as we just navigating the challenges and benefits brought by AI. As we navigate AI, we're constantly exploring how to use it ethically and responsibly. And what also stood out for me from the engagements from the audience is that AI tools will never be the author. You hold accountability as the researcher and you take full responsibility for your accuracy, validity, and impact. Always keep track of the prompts that you use, and we never can rely on AI for critical thinking. Critically dissect and appraise what AI came up with. AI doesn't know which dots or how the dots to always connect the dots. Yeah, so acknowledge rather than cite AI tools as use an AI is used as an assistant and not a source. So thank you so much for attending this session. I hope you will enjoy the rest of Library Research Week. The next session will start at 10:30, and Celine Delport will be the guest speaker on that session. Thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy.